Well, we're talking about location, 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 and I bet you don't wonder what I'm talking about. It's been years, and every time you hear about investing in real estate, what do people say?
Location, location, location.
Why do you think that's still a thing after 100 years?
Yeah, it's still a thing, and I love this article here. It starts off with location, location. Number one rule in investing. And of course, that's flip and fix projects and all that type of stuff. So let's start. First, let's address the most obvious consideration. Research the property neighborhood.
All right, so one of the things it's talking about here is probably not a very well-known thing about investing in property, is that you want to be as close as possible to transportation. As you start detaching yourself from being close to major freeways, close to major roads, subways, things of that nature, it becomes less, the property becomes less attractive. It may become more attractive maybe because of better schools, but it's less attractive because it's hard to get around, particularly in an area like Los Angeles. Just my house, which is 15 to 20 minutes away from the freeway, is a lot less desirable than the house in Stevenson Ranch that you have because it's 10 minutes or 20 minutes out of the
Absolutely,
out of the
a lot easier to rent because they get to and from work that much easier.
So one of the things to take into consideration when looking at location is transportation, super important. I just mentioned the other one is schools. So maybe you don't think about schools because maybe you don't have a child yet. Maybe you're not planning on having children.
Or you're already set where you're at.
Yeah, but if you're going to buy an investment property, think that what is going to make this property attractive to somebody else that has a different set of needs to make sure that your renter pool is as large as possible. And schools is also something you should take into consideration.
Okay, obvious thing when you're working on buying an investment property. Well, the cash flow. You got to do the math. You have to do the math of what the principal, the interest, the taxes, the insurance, the maintenance, the gardener, all those little things you probably aren't thinking about to make sure that it's as close to cash flowing as possible.
Now wait, you just mentioned the key there because you know that I don't believe in cash flow investing, not in Los Angeles. It's okay to lose a little bit of money on a property because if I came to you and I said it's going to cost you $200 a month, that's $2,400 a year, and your property is going to appreciate $13,000 a year, that's still a good investment.
Especially over time.
So remember to weigh cash flow against appreciation and not just cash flow independently, which a lot of people make that mistake.
All right. And then finally, your ideal tenant. You got to get the right tenant.
Okay, but the right tenant is different for every property. If you're in a very low income area, you should expect that you're going to get Section 8, government subsidies.
I learned that one. Oh, I can get an investment property for like $80,000. What kind of tenant am I getting?
And the vacancy rate, because in those areas, the vacancy rate, the eviction rate, all those things are very high. So be careful when you do your numbers to make sure that you take those things into consideration versus if you're investing in a more affluent area, you're probably going to get a much better tenant who takes better care of the property and has a lower default rate.
Well, and then, again, like you said, if you're close to schools, you're close to jobs, and so forth, those are the type of tenants you really want. So factor in all these factors when becoming and remember, you're going to be a landlord. I would suggest we like using property managers because it's really hard being a landlord. You'd be surprised how often you need calls or collecting that money. Do you really want them calling you going, hey, it's been a rough week, a rough month, can I pay you next week? Versus a property manager coming going, hey, if it's after the 5th, you pay a late fee.
Absolutely. I tell you what, I self-managed for 12 years and it was a mistake. You end up losing all that money and not charging the late fees, not raising the rent when you're supposed to. All the things you should do because that's your side gig. If that was your full-time job, I'm sure you would do them. Because it's your side gig, you neglect it a little bit, and you don't get the highest yield of your property possible. So even if the property management company just pays for itself, it doesn't have to be a profit center, but even if it pays for itself and you don't have a headache and it's set it and forget it, that's an amazing thing. It's been a much better thing for us to use property managers. And if you want to learn more about investing in property, we can't cover it in 3 minutes. Just reach out to us at donandgino@gmail.com. There's 3 other great strategies that I would share with you in 15 minutes if you're looking at buying an investment property that can help you in the long run.
Remember, our goal has always been to guide you to personal and financial wellness. You heard it right here on the National Real Estate Cafe. Find out more at donandgino.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel.